Today's story begins with showing a couple whose intentions do not look fine by seeing. In fact, today, both of them are planning to loot the grocery store, for which it is with full preparation. However, even after looting, the whole store did not feel the pair's mind because he took a box behind the cashier and started to stick to open it. But he cares him that he doesn't have what he wants. That's why don't open it. But there was greed in the pair's mind. That's why he opened it. Then a bullet's voice came. We reached direct to Cumia jungle, where a colleague's girl, who has been wandering because of hunger here for how long. He had no one behind him. What happened to him in the past that's just happened to him. But at the moment, he now appears a wooden hut in front of him. He immediately went inside him, where showing a bag filled with eating equality. He began eating whatever it was, but then only then was someone's scary message from outside. There's someone who's growing on this side. There was stuff that was fear, hidden under a bed there. Then the person came in. We had an axe in his hand, but we couldn't see who it was. He picked his food bag and went quietly. There was hidden stuff below. Silently remains hidden. When some time passed, he decided that he should now get out of here. That's why he immediately decides to run away. But then suddenly his collision came from the same man named Tom. But he doesn't harm him, but he helps him. Apologizes to what was similar to see she stolen food from her bag because she was hungry for 2 days. In fact, his car has worsened. In the middle way, his husband went to the same petrol pump for help. But he hasn't returned yet. The thing about it was that Tom's car was also bad. Rather, he's trapped here for 3 days. Now it was nervous to hear and said he had to go. It might be for her husband that he has come. So Tom also goes with him, but there was nobody there. That's why both leave a note there. With some hot clothes, came back to the same cottage. Now the temperature falls too much when it's night. That's why Tom asks him to cover the blanket what he brought from the car. But he didn't understand why her husband left her in the forest such a situation alone. Could go with too. So Equality told that she's pregnant. That's why he'd done that. When it here, Tom tells gold on his bed and speaks of gold on the ground himself. Before bed, he gave him drinking water, which he brought from a lake flowing nearby. But the strange thing was that the next day, when he went back, he wasn't the name of the lake. But with these confused questions, both go to sleep. Equality also comes a bad dream in the middle, so that his early eye opens in the morning. But Tom doesn't see him anywhere around. If he went out, he got a white-haired girl unconscious. At first, he brought him in the hut. Here, Tom removed some of his fuel from his car, so that he was similar to put in the car which they can get out of here. Here is how the white-bearded girl comes to senses. Then we can recognize it. He is the couple who stealed on the grocery store. How it came here on the girl who saw the equality now, when she saw the equality that this is a wrong woman and this place is the same. Then Equality told her the whole district, but still she is not sure of it. That's why he went out of that hut in anger. During this time, Tom is coming with fuel. Suddenly 2 turns were shot so that he is so afraid that the fuel falls by his hand. He voiced whether there was nobody around, but here he was why he came back. She saw an unknown girl with Equality who was actually the couple. He said he'd been fighting with his boyfriend. That's why he left him here alone. But now he has to go back home. Listen to his things. Tom assumes him to stay here. But in return, he also has to put his hands in his works. Next day was stuff, and it contains good things so that now they also get friendship. But Tom's problems aren't ending there. He notes the far he is going from his location, the more he is getting closer to him. That is, repeatedly, he returns to the same cottage, which makes him feel very strange. And that's why it came back to both of them and said that this place is not okay. We should walk from here. But I have to know a thing, in fact, where you people were going, and what is this place is where anyone knows here. Equality said that her husband told that this is New Hampshire, but the couple says it is Dakota, while Tom says that he was on the route with Los Angeles. After all these things, now understand that it is in a big trouble, and that is why Tom made mind that people will go as far as they can go tomorrow morning, so that they can get help or get some other way out of this place. On being the night, the couple and Tom both together have a big weird dream in which they are injecting, and some similarities were in which he is doing pain. Well, in the morning, these people start taking their goods. There is things between Equality and Pear in which she shares her some pages of her past, like her mother died when she was born. Since then, he's been lodged in orphan ashram. Then suddenly one thing hit her leg and she fell. At the same time, the pit of money fell from his tongue, which Tom became unmetered and quickly asked, "Where did so money come from to you?" In reply, it's his own saving he laid with his boyfriend. He took him while he went. Then the Equality looked at the same thing that the pair had hit. It was a handle. When Tom broke him with his axis, he is actually a German bunker, in which there were all the Yankee stuffs and some confoods on which Ney's army had a symbol of it. Equality here tells that his father fought the First War. That's why such stuff keep getting plenty of in his houses. Tom brings all those cans out and then comes out with both. But the problem was that it came to the same cabin then. Now, according to them, it was going straight. But perhaps nothing is going to go here according to them. The next moment we see all three dinner. If both girls talk together, then the lady tells the equivalent true that she steals because she doesn't have anything to do other than him. He's not written. Equality has asked him if he could see the money he'd loaded because he never saw so much money today. So the pair happy show her the money that she saw, laughing because she felt joking because she was holding it, because the stand on it was in 1984. According to him, he's money futures. But the pair said he doesn't live in 1984. But according to Equality, this year is 1964. Now it was all very strange. That is, there are two women. Beans are in place, but from different times from the different timeline. Now when Tom came, he was also questioned what year he was from. So he says he's been since 2011. Now after they heard this, they both told their whole story. At first Tom felt all this joke, but considering the heaviness of his words, he understood that something was wrong. So suddenly the sound of shooting from outside. Who's been shooting repeatedly? When seen, it was discovered that he was an unknown person who has a gun in his hands. They needed help, that's why he came out. He began to say that people were in trouble. But that man seems to speak something in German. What he couldn't understand, but so much he understood, he was telling him to throw that axe. That's why he did the same thing when his eyes opened. The next moment, they were all three prisoners and that German was missing. Now they have started to understand somewhere that they may have traveled time. He was all three prisoners and German disappearing. So the hearing oldest son Equality asked, has it possible time travel by 2011? So Tom says no such thing was made. A while later he returned to German, then opened Tom's ropes, then taking out and beat him very well. The give finally tied him to a tree. Then he came in and asked those girls who she was and where she came from. Then his look was on her locket, of which he started asking him about. It was just the same thing that German comes. That's why she explains her that locket is her mother's. And so does he have beans too. Then he shows the same bean locket wearing in his German citizen Angry, in which there was a picture of a woman who looks like a mother of Hubhu Equality. Things start slowly and disturbing, but stay tuned because the end of it will keep you shake. Now she comes out with both girls. Equality asks Tom, does he have such a locket too? But he refuses. Meanwhile, that unknown man had forgotten that Tom has opened his own rope. The next moment is now in the recent moment he had kept these three. But all three standing there are synced in their own trousers, because somewhere they are seeing this pillar solving. Equality said that the picture that the man has in the locket that he has in his mother, but Tom didn't agree to that. But when the couple said that the woman with that picture was her granny, her senses flew. Here also the name of the unknown man who tells us Equality. His name was actually his father. But not just that. When Equality asked the pair the date of his birth, he told that June 3rd, 1964. It was the same date the pair's mother died, giving her daughter, and that daughter was no other but couple themselves. Why did you not hobby? Now the hobby has a weary girdle in the entire cabin. The thing has come up like this. Everyone's senses have fled. Equality. When she realized that her husband was actually killed in the war, she walked out of the cabin crying. But not just that, one more curtain here wakes up from another Raj. Tom Poor, sitting outside, tells Tom Poor that she was actually a thief. But he denied this thing because he didn't have such a locket. but he said he has a bean locket, but he is at his home right now. She tells that her mother was a thief that loathed the city's gas station grocery store with her husband Kevin. But one day, he killed his husband himself, in which he hanged in the penalty. This was a bitter truth which was actually reality, and this thing cannot hear the pair, and it also comes out of the cabin. Her daughter was rooted near sad equality sitting outside. Now that feeling is something different. The first thing has ended, because Samantha realized she'd die giving birth to her daughter. It's as if the world was lighted. But she's happy because her daughter is alive, and her grandmother will take care of her later. But the pair told that Nana Grannies are atrophy about it very much and are always hungry. That's why he left her home in childhood. After hearing this, she started crying and came to the cabin immediately, and Hansman, that is her father, understood everything, and then it took her to try to free him. But Tom refuses her to do that because she can be dangerous. But Equality is sure that her father won't do anything to her. But as he ran away with his guns and clothes. From there, in the meantime, the Equality again recalls its same scary dream. When she died, she gave birth to her child. Because at that time Adamum, that is, her husband, was in Rust, and ambulance late, reached home. So Tom also told that he had dreamed of something in which he shoots the father who exploited him, and then shoots himself after that too. At the end of the time, when he came to the moment, he also remembered the same hanging day. That is, the three now know that he is going to die, and how two are going to die. Also know that he is not dead yet. So that is, all three can change their past. Tom takes them to the same German bunker immediately, because he believed that all this has started since the death of the man. So we'll have to stop him first. Equality said his father died on May 14th in an airstrike in Poland, and today, on May 14th, and the place where it stands is Poland. That is, they have a chance. Tom insisted and told that if Hansman does not die, his wife, that is the second marriage of Equality, will not be. Which would mean he'll be at home, and then that Equality can be taken to hospital during Labor Queen. That's why he goes out to find the right Hansman, who was making connections to the radio in the cabin. But he was bad. Then Akunatha told him about airstrike, but he doesn't hear his one and starts to run away. Then Tom tries a lot to stop him. But in this, there's a terrible mistake. Hansman shot what seems to be going. He ran the direct pair, but they come in the cabin with both injured pair. Tom was very disturbing now, because if the pair died, he would never be born. I'd have to stop him in some way. By speaking so much, he goes to catch Hansman. Samantha tries to keep her daughter alive. That is why God never gave a person the strength that he could see himself past tomorrow. Otherwise, he will start to tamper the things made of the mercant, which can be very terrible. Tom took Hansman, but he ran every turn from his clutches. But he saw one thing. He fled anywhere repeatedly to the same cabin. That's why he also now moved to the same cabin, where now both were face to face. Hansman runs several pills on it, but doesn't seem to be a single pill. Because Tom's now ending. Like her last breaths as her soul is leaving her body, Tom is losing her own existence. And then a moment comes too when she completely disappears because the pair is dead. But seeing Equality now, it's very angry with your father. He made life difficult for himself as well as of his coming generation. After so much everything happening now, Hansman comes to believe his things. But now is it too late? Russian planes are seen in the sky. That's why both parts but bomb have started to fall. Which Equality has also been injured. But his father picks him up and comes to bunker. Now, by gradually the presence of Equality is also ending. Because Hansman saved himself what he took, not the time he died before. That is, everything will be right now. But one thing won't change yet. What was that, you'll find out in some time. Sean reaches shift again at the same time in which the story started. But at this time, things have changed quite a lot. The pair goes to the same grocery store, but by becoming a rich and read-written girl in a different embodiment. But when she got out of there, she showed Kevin who was going to perform the same work with her second girlfriend. But with a new girlfriend, which means Tom will never be born, because Jody Kevin never met. And that happened because respect was alive right now, that we see in the next scenes. Whose hands are now your father's bones? whom he paid tribute with honor in 1964. Now in the hand again C in the same store where Kevin's new girlfriend Emily looted everything. But in the end, his greed did not end, and his eyes were on the box behind the cashier he said to open. But the cashier informed him, if he goes inside, nothing will improve now. But he did not believe and shot in the mouth, with which the story ends here. Friends, this is a very amazing story that keeps us in your mind completely rotate. How the well story will definitely tell us. See you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Grinding out.